Okay, guys, it's no secret that America is like the world leader in obesity. Okay. Compared to Europe, where people have similar economic conditions, similar levels of education, they're not overweight. Okay. They're not like dying because they eat too much. I remember when I was a kid, and it was big news that for the first time in the history of the world, there were more people dying because they ate too much and were obese than there were people dying because they ate too little and they were starving. Okay, but that's the norm these days. And I think I'm uniquely qualified to answer this question because I'm an American. I grew up in America, but I also lived for like a decade and a half in Germany in Europe. And as an actual German, I paid German taxes, worked for a German company, spoke, read, wrote German all day. So I think I could kind of explain what the difference is between the dietary habits and the health habits of Americans and Germans. And what it comes down to is something that people say in Germany. It's klein aber fein. It means small but like really nice. Okay. And that could mean like an apartment, instead of having a huge apartment that's basically made out of crap and it's got a bunch of crappy furniture, it's a smaller apartment, but it's got, really nice furniture. It's really painted well. It's really decorated well. It's just perfect. It's not too big, not too small, and everything in there is first rate. Well, the same thing applies to the Germans' food consumption. Okay. And I'm going to give you an example. Yesterday was my girlfriend's birthday. I took her out to the only European type restaurant that I have found since I came back to America. It's a Turkish restaurant. I think it's called Istanbul Grill or something like that. And we had an incredible meal. Okay. We sat down and I ordered us some appetizers. So we had like a little plate with some filled grape leaves. So it's like, rice that's spiced, and it's, made into like little pouches made out of grape leaves. So we had a few of them on one plate with some lettuce and some tzatziki, which is like a creamy kind of sauce. And then we had another one, okay, that had it was like basically like dough with different types of cheese on it rolled together. Okay. So we had a few of those. That was our appetizer. We didn't have a huge plate of nachos with all kinds of cheese falling off of it. We didn't have 10,000 chicken wings for an appetizer. It was just enough to taste the food. The food tasted great. It was wonderful, but we didn't get stuffed. Okay. Each of us had a Turkish martini, which I think they made it up in the restaurant. I don't know if they actually drink these in Turkey, but it was like a martini made with sweet vermouth. We had each one of those. Our dinner was just a plate with different types of meats on it and a bunch of rice in the middle. And then our dessert was baklava, which is like a pastry, just a few, I think it was five tiny little pieces that were like bite-sized pieces. And they were all covered with like honey. So it was like sweet, but it wasn't overpowering. And basically what happened is we ate great food. We tasted the food. The food was wonderful. And we ate it and then we left and we felt good and we felt better than we did when we got there. Now, like I said, compare that to what happens in America, okay? When you go to America, you go into a cafe, or a diner and you have like a bottomless, coffee. Like you just pay whatever and you get like coffee and free refills. And every single time you put like a refill of coffee in, you put cream, you put sugar. Okay. So that really adds up, just the coffee. Yesterday we were at this restaurant. We had Turkish coffee with our dessert. It was a tiny little, like an espresso cup. You put one package of sugar in and then you just drank it and you enjoyed this tiny little shot glass full of coffee. I mean, it was really good, really strong coffee. You tasted it. It wasn't like 10 gallons of cheap, shitty coffee. Okay. So, what happens, like I said, when you go out and you have like an appetizer at like a wings place or like a sports bar, you just have all kinds of like 500 mozzarella sticks and then you dip that in sauce. You have like, pictures of beer. You don't have just like a beer. You have basically what I'm saying is everything in America. And this is, I love America. I was in the Army, for 7 years. Believe me, I love my country and I'm not saying anything bad about it. But the fact of the matter is, in America, food is in very low quality and very high quantity. okay? You don't enjoy the food, you enjoy the process of eating thousands and thousands of calories. Whereas in, like I said, in Germany or somewhere, if you buy a cup of coffee, you get a cup of coffee, one single little cappuccino. You sit it and you enjoy it. And then when you're done drinking it, you go on with your life. You don't just sit there and drink coffee after coffee after coffee. Like I said, if you buy, I was talking to somebody the other day about, I don't know myself, but they were telling me about how cheap a dozen donuts at Dunkin' Donuts is. So basically, what that means is if you go to, Dunkin' Donuts, you get 12 donuts and you sit there and you eat them. Some people eat them by themselves. Some people bring them into the office and everybody eats 3, 4, 5, 6 donuts. And, in Germany, you bought a pastry and, you would have like one pastry, one Danish, one pretzel. And that's what you would have for breakfast and one cup of coffee. And then you'd get on with your life and you'd start work. You wouldn't just sit there and eat 10,000 Danishes at once. And they're like 10,000 for $2 or something like that. You would pay the same amount for like one or two, pastries in Germany. You would pay for a dozen donuts in America. But like I said, they tasted better. You tasted them, you ate them, you enjoyed them, and you got on with your life. You didn't just graze on cheap crap for huge amounts of time. So that, in my opinion, is the reason why Europeans are less fat than Americans. And if you look at countries where people are getting fatter, okay, historically, it's been basically where people took on American culture and American chains of restaurants. For instance, I remember watching something, this was years ago, about Japan and sushi bars. And what they were saying is, sushi bars are dying out. American fast food is coming in. And as American fast food comes into Japan and people are eating more, cheap burgers in massive quantities instead of just going and sitting with their families or their coworkers or whatever and enjoying a night eating a little bit of sushi, they're just filling up on crappy, burgers 10 times a day. Obesity is going up as well. The same thing in Germany. Like I said, in Germany, there is crappy fast food, crappy cheap food coming up. And because of that, obesity in Germany is also increasing. But like I said, the European tendency to eat less and pay more and enjoy it more and take longer eating less, okay, is certainly one of the reasons why the Europeans are not as obese as the Americans, who just, would like to spend as little as possible, get as much food as possible, and eat as much as possible, and, enjoy quantity instead of quality.